Hi, everyone. Today I want to talk to you also about plaster cloth. So plaster cloth is what we use when you had me for art one. We used it for masks. It's great because you can actually get this really strong look of fabric if you want to. If you look in this example over here, you can use it to just create all sorts of organic shapes. Especially because it becomes incredibly hard if you use it correctly. It's what we used to use, or I guess they still use it, but for casts for your arms and things like that. If you break an arm or a bone, um, when I was younger, this is what they would use to make those casts. That's how hard it gets. So, characteristics of plaster cloth. It can give you organic forms, like I said, will dry to be extremely hard, and if you apply it correctly. It can also be very weak if you don't apply it correctly. Um, it can be left white or painted. If you look over here at this sculpture, it's beautiful just the way it is, like with that kind of canvas color to it. So you can really play off of that, but you also have the option of painting it. Tools you'll need to get started. Plaster cloth roll, which is right here. You actually cut it into small little strips. Scissors for plaster cutting, which we use special scissors. We do not use our regular paper scissors. Please do not use those scissors. Please use scissors that are for plaster cloth. Please. It does ruin scissors. It makes them very dirty, unable, and then they can't cut other things that we need them to cut. You're going to need a bucket or a tray of warm water and your armitage, which is your skeleton for the inside. Here I have a little mask. And the thing is that plaster cloth and paper mache are very similar in that you need a skeleton to start with. You need to apply it correctly. It gets very, very hard. You can create organic shapes. And there are some other ways they're similar as well that we'll talk about. This is where you'll find the plaster cloth. It's actually right next to my paper mache materials. It's in a bag. This is the roll right here. You just cut those off. These trays right here, you can see they already have plaster residue in them. You just fill them with warm water, and that's what you use to use the plaster cloth. So how it works, you're going to use the scissors and cut it into strips. All right, just you can decide how large of strips you want to use. It kind of depends on what you're going for. You can use bigger pieces if you want that look of fabric kind of draping when you're doing it. You're then going to dip it into water. So this is where your big tray of water comes in. And you actually have to massage it to activate the plaster. When you look at it, it has lots of little holes in it, and you want to massage it so those holes disappear. If you can get those holes to disappear, your piece is going to be a lot stronger, which is what I mean when I talk about it being if it's applied correctly, it becomes very strong. That's what I mean by that. You have to make sure you massage the plaster so that the water reaches all of it, and then it can actually also smooths it out quite a bit, which is really nice. Then you're going to place it on the armitage. I even rub it once it gets on there to fill in the holes even more. Again, the more you fill in the holes with the plaster and spread it out, the better luck you're going to have with having a strong piece. And you gotta allow it to dry. It usually takes overnight to dry. Now, just like paper mache, if it doesn't dry, you can put a second coat on it. All right, as long as it's strong enough to hold that. If it is not strong enough to hold that, like let's say you have like pieces sticking off, like limbs and things like that, and adding more wet weight to it will actually weaken the piece because it's not attached completely. Let it dry overnight because it becomes rock solid once it's dry. You might have to put it in front of a fan depending on how wet it is when you put it to the side. I do have fans in my room. Just let me know and we can put it in front of a fan overnight to dry. What I wouldn't do is leave it in your locker or on your shelf if it's really wet and you want it to be dry by the next day. Cleaning up. You can pour water down the drain, but you must be sure not to allow the plaster to go down with it. This is very important. So If your plaster particles are all mixed up in your water, don't dump it. Like set it on the counter and let me know, because what I'll do is I'll let them all settle before I just pour the water off of the top. Another option is you can take it out to the driveway and pour it, and then the stones in the driveway do a natural filtration. It's not so much that it's bad for the environment, but pouring wet plaster down the drain and then if it dries in the drain, we'll never get it out. It will ruin the drains. You're going to wipe off your table with a wet sponge, followed by a dry rag. Don't just do it once. You gotta do it at least twice. It will look clean if you do it once, but it won't be clean. And then the next person that comes in will be like, Mrs. Wyse-Fisher, why did they leave such a mess? And I'll be like, they didn't know they left a mess. So just be considerate of others and make sure you wipe off your table multiple times to get it clean. All right, that's all I have for you about plaster cloth. If you decide to use this medium, now you know where it is and how to use it.